Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Box Office Talk. This is the show where I break down what happened at the box office, see if my predictions for the top 5 are correct, then make predictions for next week's top 5. So let's get right on into it. Last week I predicted that number 1 would be Moana 2, number 2 would be Wicked, number 3 would be Gladiator 2, number 4 would be Red 1, and number 5 would be Interstellar. And I got all 5 of my predictions right for this weekend, which is kind of fun. Last week I didn't know what limited or smaller release would get into the top 5 because the 4 just seemed very predetermined, so I didn't know what to do. So I'm very lucky that I guessed correctly. Nobody else did. I think I might have been the only one to correct Interstellar in the right spot at the very least too, so I mean, you know, hats off to me this time. And before we get into the video, yes, like I mentioned last week, this video is taking place a couple days after my surgery to get rid of my wisdom teeth. I am doing better, obviously, enough to do this video, but I am going to try to intentionally make this a little quicker. If I fail, I fail. But if at any point you think, hey, this is going by a little fast, that's probably why. So let's just dive into what happened in the overall top 10. Number 1 was once again Moana 2, this weekend making $52 million at the domestic box office. Now I did notice that as far as just the 3-day weekends, the holdover was only in the 60% range. So it actually kind of had a pretty significant drop off. And when we get to Wicked 2, that weekend drop off, obviously it's been out longer, but that one had a drop off in the 50% range. So is there a future where Wicked maybe overtakes Moana 2? Who knows? The point being that Moana 2 was once again number 1, and that adds to a domestic total of $300 million. Worldwide, it is sitting at $600 million. So let's look at all the films that they have leapfrogged in the respective lists here. For the domestic list for Disney Animation, it is outgrossed Big Hero 6 by $78 million and the original Moana by $52. It is sitting behind Zootopia by $41 million, but that does place it in the top 4 highest grossing domestic runs for Disney Animation of all time. For 2024, it leapfrogged over Beetlejuice 2 by $6 million. It's sitting behind Wicked, heyo, by $20 million. It is in the top 5 highest domestic grosses of the year in such a short amount of time. There you go, folks. That's kind of crazy. And it's crazy that these two movies that are essentially battling it out right now came out in a week's time of each other at this point of the year. That's just kind of fun, you know? It's just kind of fun to see that they're just so neck and neck seeming right here domestically. Worldwide, there is a bit of a difference. We'll talk about that in a second. It is sitting at $600 million worldwide, so it has outgrossed Tangled by $18 million for Disney Animation. It is sitting behind Big Hero 6 here by $47, so it's almost in the top 5 right now. It has to settle for number 6 for the year 2024. It did outgross Godzilla and Kong by $32 million. It is sitting behind Dune 2 by $108 million right now, but that does place it in the top 5 highest grossing worldwide runs of the year, so, you know, something worth celebrating. And then if we can move just right along to number 2, which is of course Wicked, it made $34 million, adding to a domestic total of $320, so neck and neck with Moana 2 right here. Moana 2 and this, it'll be interesting to see how they compete against each other, if Moana 2 is going to take such a leap ahead or if it will drop off even more significantly. But worldwide, Wicked does have a bit of catching up to do. We mentioned Moana 2 is sitting at $600 million right now. Wicked is sitting at $455 million, so there is quite a bit of a difference there, especially for Moana's short amount of time. So the jury is out if Wicked is going to be able to still hold over well enough to catch up to it. Could it? Possibly, but it did just get banned from a country because it might have been too gay. So I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on anymore. For musicals in general, it did outgross Sing by $50 million and The New Little Mermaid by $22 million. It is sitting behind Frozen by $80 million. It is sitting at the top 4 highest grossing musical spot for domestic runs ever. For the year 2024, it has outgrossed Beetlejuice 2 by $26 million and Moana 2, as mentioned, by $20. It is sitting behind Despicable Me 4 by $41, so this is in the top 4 highest grossing runs of the year domestically. And then for the worldwide number, $455 million. For musicals, it is $17 million over the original animated Beauty and the Beast, and now needs $51 million until it gets to La La Land, thus placing it in the top 10 highest grossing runs for musicals ever. For the year 2024, it did outgross Beetlejuice here as well. But man, so many movies outgrossing Beetlejuice. Or 2 movies that just, you know, all happen to be outgrossing Beetlejuice at the same time for domestic and worldwide. Whatever. You get the semantics. It outgrossed it by $5 million here. It is sitting behind Venom: The Last Dance by $13 million, so it is in the number 12 highest grossing runs worldwide. So these two movies, Moana 2 and Wicked, really just going hand in hand with each other. Like I was saying earlier, it'll be interesting to see if Wicked will be able to overtake Moana. But either way, these movies are just very obviously benefiting from each other and really gaining traction in all ways, shape, or form. And then you get to number 3, which is Gladiator 2, which had about a 60% drop off this weekend, which, like I said, Moana 2 had one, but Moana 2 had the, very valuable help of outsourcing their animation to keep costs down, unethical, yeah, maybe. But, they managed to, make that budget back. They've tripled it. They've quadrupled that budget. Jesus fucking Christ. Gladiator 2, like we've been talking about forever, they're in a really tight spot where they have to make a significantly large amount of money and be able to hold over well enough to, get to that point. And it's just, another 60% drop off isn't great. You know what I mean? It made 12 million, adding to a domestic total of 132 million. So it's 55 million away from the original film. For Ridley Scott, it did outgross Prometheus by 6 million and American Gangster by 2. It is sitting behind Hannibal now by 33 million, but that does place it in the top 4 highest runs for Ridley Scott domestically, so that's great. And then worldwide, we get to 368 million. So yeah, like I think we even talked about it last weekend. It's crossed over the initial production budget of 310 million, at least if you believe that it did balloon to that. It could also still be 210, or maybe it's just 250, or maybe it's 165. No one really quite knows. I feel like normally we would be very excited that it would get to 400 million worldwide, and it'd be like, yes, this great win for, these kind of movies that don't really get made that much anymore because they made it with a, decent, reasonable budget, reasonable high budget. But in this instance where there's conflicting reports as far as like how high did that budget go, it's like, man, I don't know. It's making a lot of money, obviously, but as far as like they're actually profiting, it's actually proven a success. They're actually going to invest in more Gladiator movies because of this. That jury is still kind of out. Either way, it is 83 million away from the original film's worldwide run, unadjusted for inflation. Ridley Scott's filmography, it is 46 million over Robin Hood and 18 million over Hannibal. Here, it is sitting behind Prometheus by 34 million, though. Crazy. This does place it in the top 4 for Ridley Scott, so it's in the top 4 for worldwide and domestic, and it outgrossed Prometheus domestically, but not worldwide. But it outgrossed Hannibal here, but not domestically. Funny how some things happen. I don't know. I'm just pointing out whatever. Number 4 is Red One. Still the biggest flop, obviously. Gladiator 2, do not fret. SNL isn't making like musical parodies of Red One, that's for certain. SNL doesn't have any of those stars on their hosting, unlike Paul Mescal. Red One made 7 million, adding to a domestic total of 85 million. So it also here has an outgross League of Super Pets. Now it's sitting behind it by 40 million. I feel like that should be an easy one to clear, especially for something they were touting as like the next big Christmas franchise, blockbuster, all your favorite stars, whatever. But like with all this time that it's been here, like what more has been said other than maybe some people let it slide, or all the controversy with The Rock pissing in bottles? It kind of just has no significant cultural hold on anything, Moana 2 does for Dwayne Johnson, so at least he has that to fall back on, but Red One is just fucking flopping here. Number 5 was Interstellar, like I had mentioned, the re-release, making 4 million, adding to a domestic total of 192 million. It did outgross Dunkirk domestically by 2 million. It's sitting behind Batman Begins now by 13 million. Worldwide, it is bumped up to 733 million. So the last movie it outgrossed for Nolan was Dunkirk by 124. It is sitting behind Inception by 92 million. So these stats don't really matter. It already kind of had its time, and I'm not expecting this re-release to like bump it up to such an insane degree. I didn't expect this re-release to like break the bank even, you know what I mean? I just thought, I think there's just a lot of popularity surrounding Nolan all the time, and there's a lot of hype around his IMAX experiences, and, Interstellar, it's been 10 years since then, this is the anniversary of it, and, the fan base seemingly has kind of grown since then, so it just seemed like out of everything that was new coming out, or like a special event coming out, this was the one that more people were kind of like interested in, so I'm just glad I got it right, and that's all I want to say. Number 6 is Solo Leveling Reawakening. Don't know what this is, but at least it didn't get into the top 5 and ruin my predictions. Thank you, Solo Leveling, whatever you are. I think it's an anime. It made 2.4 million. I'm not sure what the budget of this thing is, but worldwide it is bumped up to 3.5. Once again, I don't know if that's good or not, but yeah, I'm just glad it didn't ruin my prediction. You're welcome, as long as you don't ruin my top 5 prediction, god damn it. At number 7 is Y2K, a new A24 original film from Kyle Mooney, and this is kind of a bummer just because I do like Kyle Mooney. I enjoyed Brigsby Bear, which he had a big creative hand in and he starred in. I think, A24 previously having a good original winner, even if it was like a modest one with Heretic a couple weeks ago, I was just kind of hoping that Y2K could maybe do the same thing. Apparently the budget of this thing is about 15 million, according to Wikipedia. They have like the little about symbol, so I've seen the movie. I don't think it's 15 minutes. Like, that just doesn't seem right when you see the movie. It only made 2.1 million. There's no worldwide total to bump it up. So I was kind of hoping, especially with the budget that I'm seeing here, that this could, get a little higher. It doesn't look like it's got enough good word of mouth to give it a solid holdover for the next couple weeks. It's probably just going to get lost. But at the same time, I was kind of disappointed in this movie. As somebody who loves the cast, loves Kyle Mooney, loves Brigsby Bear, I was kind of disappointed with the movie. So I wish that, I think it's that thing of like, I'm disappointed for just like, another original film that kind of lost here, especially on a lower, even if it is 15 million, which I think isn't right, just as far as like what I saw. But it is like another, lower budgeted movie that did not do well. But it is kind of like that thing of like, I wish it did better just for the state of cinema, but also, I wish it was a better movie for me personally. So it's kind of like that weird thing of, whatever. Number 8 is for King and Country, A Drummer Boy Christmas, making 2.05 million, adding to a domestic total of 2.6 million. Not sure what the budget of this thing is. It's just a filmed concert, holiday concert, Fathom event, whatever. So not like it matters too particularly much. And like I said, I'm trying to make this go a little fast because of mouth. So I have nothing else to add. Let's move on to number 9, which is The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. Another fucking Christmas holiday extravaganza, except this time it's an actual movie. Maybe. Made 1.5 million, adding to a domestic total of 34 million. So for Kingdom Story Company, still behind Jesus Revolution, now by 18 million, but it's still in the top 2, even if it's about to leave the top 10. I would say, like, well, you never know because it could outlast these other ones, but this is pretty low, all things considered. I know Christmas is right around the corner, and, next week we have, like, 2 wide releases, but there could be some other limited kind of stuff coming that I don't know about, so I'm just gonna predict that it's probably out. If it's here next week, then cool, welcome back. Finally, closing out the video, number 10, Werewolves. Another one that, like, I completely, when I was doing the list, I completely forgot about. I was like, oh, right, I haven't even seen this yet, but it made 1.1 million, so nothing too much to write home about. I'm not sure what the budget of this thing is. I know it's a low budget kind of horror movie, so maybe they're in the clear, but they do have Frank Grillo in this though, and he, is now a big star for DC Studios, so I don't know if his paycheck has gone up or what. I know he's done a lot of like these kind of low budget kind of movies, but I don't know, man. Maybe they're good. Maybe it's all good. The point is that it probably won't be here next weekend, so we don't have to worry about it. Anyways, now it's time for the fun part, the predictions for next week's top 5. Number 1, I gotta go with Kraven the Hunter. I think it'll squeak by just a little bit. Just because, Sony Marvel, some people are even, I don't think it'll be huge, but I do think some people will still be interested to see what they've done with this. Number 2, I think will be Moana 2. Number 3, Wicked. And then number 4, The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. I don't think this will, break the bank or like outgross Wicked or Moana just because I think anime, as far as like selling that to like a, mainstream like Western, like here in the States, I don't think that's possible. I feel like even if it is Lord of the Rings, some people will still be like, oh, but it's animated, it's a cartoon, I don't want to see that. Cartoons at the box office only break bank if it's fucking Disney Pixar, if it has that look, you know what I mean, that look, or it's Spider-Verse where it's not necessarily anime, but it does that, you know what I mean. And then number 5, I think, will be Gladiator 2. But anyways, what are your predictions for next week's top 5? Leave them in the comments below, and as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.